So this is nothing special. I just figured I needed to spend some time going through this baby here, which is my collection of dungeon magazines, at least the ones I have in print, which is how I prefer them, because I have a plan for an upcoming adventure for my Ghosts of Saltmarsh Plus campaign. Right now they're off doing my Against the Cult of the Loaf adventure, which the first 3 issues of how I run it present again for the consumption of contemporary D&D players who want a little bit of that old school vibe with that grittiness. But while they're off doing that, they had purchased, or at least arranged to purchase, a hunting lodge, which they're going to convert as their headquarters on the outskirts of Saltmarsh and on the edge of the Hool Marshes. Since there's a swamp druid in the group, they're friends with the lizard folk, they're friends with people in Saltmarsh, they figured they wanted a space kind of somewhere in between. However, I really want the initiation of or moving into this new property once they get back from this adventure to involve an adventure in itself, a little mini adventure, maybe something that would take 1 session or 2 sessions at most, but that would also give them a little bit more XP before they move on to the final enemy, which is the next adventure in the Saltmarsh series. I may still stick some other module in between there because the final enemy is really hard and I don't want there to be a TPK. And even though I know people say 5e, there's no TPKs after 5th level or whatever, I mean, I'm a pretty deadly DM, as anyone who's ever played in any of my games will attest to. And I think even with 5e, I feel like I could kill them. Like I have a PC almost dying at the 3rd level in my other game too. That took between sessions. I might have to talk to them about making a new character. Anyway, that being the case, what I would like to do is, earlier in their adventures, they had a hook they didn't take. And that hook led to someone being murdered. They know nothing about that because they didn't get involved in that plot line, which is fine. That's their choice. That being said, I thought it would be interesting since it turns out, and I did this by accident, they bought the hunting lodge from the same family as one of the influential families of the area that was involved in that murder. So I was like, what if whoever did it buried her poorly on that property? So maybe there's a ghost haunting, something that they have to deal with. If they couldn't deal with it in life, maybe they have to help this person deal with it in death, bring their murderer to justice, something like that. I'm not sure. The backdrop I have is that since they've opened this headquarters, or since they've founded this headquarters, the locals are going to be coming around looking for, sniffing out for jobs and potential money, right? So like a gamesman will come and offer to like keep their grounds. Someone is helping to build a chicken coop. They don't know that yet, but they left one of their servants behind to arrange for things, and he decided a chicken coop was a good idea. A housekeeper, someone to take in their laundry. I mean, not that the details of that kind of housekeeping stuff is important, I think, in D&D or even in my own games, but just the idea that those people exist, create a kind of network of potential NPCs that build the kind of verisimilitude of the setting and also provide a little bit of richness to what's going on and potential hooks in the future, right? So sometimes players, I think anyone who's DM'd for a while knows that players sometimes hook on to like a particular NPC and it's never the one you think it's going to be. And it could be the washerwoman, who knows? Or her nephew who's going to try to be their cook, right? Who's going to be like, well, now you have a place to live. Are you going to cook your own meals? Are you going to eat good berries all the time? No, you're going to want someone to cook you some good food, right? And the gamesman will come and bring you, some venison and I'll cook it. So, who knows who that will be? I mean, the reason they have that servant, Lurtol, who they left behind, but before he used to travel around with them, is because they asked for a guide, and then they loved him for whatever reason, him and his ox Muffin. He actually convinced them to buy a second ox, so now they have 2 oxes. And so now he's part of the group, kind of, So anyway, what I wanted to do is, instead of trying to come up with something from scratch, which I find very difficult to do, I use my collection of dungeon magazines, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to pick out the ones that have kind of a haunted theme, right? Or anything with a ghost or a house, a haunted house. I may not be able to find it, or it may be very different, and I end up just taking one little bit. And I'm going back here. See, this first one here, this is the earliest one I own, is issue number 7 from 1987. I was September 1987, I would have been a junior in high school, but I did not own this issue back then. Nor did I own this one. But I don't think there's anything in this one that is good. I'm actually going to go through. I have a dungeon catalog somewhere that would probably help me. The Ghost Ship Gambit. I don't think there's going to be a ship. I'm going to skip that. I like this. What are those? Slotty? Are these slod? They're bullywugs. What do you think? Nope. Nothing in there. There's some interesting adventures of ones that I've forgotten. Nope. Wards of the Witching Waves. I've actually run that before. That's in there. Here's a classic cover with the leprechauns turning the painting the cows green. But anyway, I'm not going to bore you by actually going through all of these, while you watch, which I think would be boring for you and stressful for me. But I just wanted to give that sense, right? That idea that collect everything you can, every adventure, whatever. It doesn't matter. You may not run any of them as is. I've run very few as is. But I have used something from almost every single one of these issues. Even in some issues, I've used up every single adventure, and I have my handwritten notes in there, and it's it's a resource for me. If you're the collector type and you want to keep them in like plastic bags with hard backs, you can do that. I just bought this one recently. That's the only reason why I still like that. I don't care. I mean, I am a collector, but collecting for use. But anyway, that's what my Sunday afternoon is. So next month, How I Run It number 4 is coming out. So you should check it out. This is all magical items. They're all ones from previous games. You can see the table of contents there. You can see the little centerfold spellbook thing that I made up for my game. Frojack's belt. What does Frojack's belt do? I don't know, but it belonged to the great troll Frojack. That gives maybe, or at least it was made from a piece of his hide. So that might give you some idea. Anyway, this is Osvaldo for How I Run It. That's how I run it. I can't tell you how to run it, but I could tell you how I do it. Peace.